There isn't a comic book fan on this planet that doesn't have at least some familiarity with Star Wars. But did you know that before George Lucas even set his sights on a galaxy far, far away, he was trying to obtain the film rights to Flash Gordon? That's right, before he was even thinking about Luke Skywalker and the Death Star, Lucas was a fan of comics, and the inspiration they had on him is evident. In this edition of Contenders, we're counting down 10 characters, locations, and storylines that may have had an influence on Star Wars.
Ready, are you?
The idea of kingdoms in the sky has been around long before Alex Raymond created Flash Gordon, but it's impossible not to see the parallels between the Cloud City introduced in the Flash Gordon universe and the Cloud City Star Wars fans first saw in The Empire Strikes Back. But because the idea of kingdoms in the sky are such a popular motif in mythology, we decided to rank this one amongst the lowest of the low on this list. Sound good?
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly?
It shall be done, Your Majesty.
It will be done, my lord.
At number 9 is Emperor Ming, the primary antagonist of Flash Gordon, who shares several commonalities with Emperor Palpatine. Sure, tyrants from all fictional universes are bound to have a few commonalities, but not only do each possess a similar fashion sense, supernatural powers, and tons of obedient soldiers, but each is eventually betrayed by a close ally when victory appears close at hand. For the 8th spot on our list, we're turning our attention to fashion, more specifically the outfits worn for a brief time by a pair of popular heroines. First published in 1967, the French comic Valerian and Laureline featured a pair of heroes who traveled throughout time and space in several stories we will reference throughout this list. Among the most talked about similarities between Star Wars and the French comic is the ensemble Laureline and Princess Leia are each forced to wear at one point during their stories. But although it is amongst the most cited examples of how Lucas was inspired by comic books, it actually appears to have been the work of artist Frank Frazetta that had a larger impact on Leia's costume. This one still received bonus points, however, thanks to the fact that each antagonist responsible for the wardrobe change was a portly, id-driven alien, who also has a little furry companion and travels via desert ship. You know, the usual. We told you Valerian and Laureline would be referenced again before this list was complete, and just one spot later, we're making good on that promise. In 1999, Star Wars fans not only had the unfortunate opportunity to meet poor Jar Jar Binks, but also a forgettable Toydarian named Watto.
No money, no parts, no deal.
A junker and slave owner, Watto sure looks a lot like the Shingus, first introduced more than 2 decades earlier in Valerian and Laureline. But in case you don't see the physical resemblance between the Toydarians and the Shingus, perhaps some insight into their reputations can help sway you. In one unaired episode of Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Anakin Skywalker mentions how nothing goes under the watch of a Toydarian without them noticing.
Yeah, Anakin! I know Toydarians. Nothing goes on under their watch without them knowing.
See, he said that. And the Shingus also have a reputation for being in the know and selling that information to the highest bidder. Don't they know that more money means more problems?
I'm betting heavily on the Sebulba.
Number 6 is Double Trouble. It is also the last time that we'll be discussing the efforts of Valerian and Laureline creators Pierre Christine and artist Jean-Claude Mézières. In their comics, this amazing creative team took readers to some far-out worlds, including the Empire of 1,000 Planets and its capital. While barren wastelands are a dime a dozen, there is something else about this specific location that makes it similar to Luke Skywalker's home world of Tatooine. In one specific wide shot from the Empire of 1,000 Planets, we spot something very interesting. Okay, maybe it doesn't blow your mind that this 1971 comic features a planet with 2 suns, but to help beef up this contender slot, how about we throw in the time Valerian was trapped inside this liquid plastic, just like our favorite space pirate? Or what about this nemesis who covers his badly scarred face behind a metal mask? Not that metal mask. Yes, that one. Convinced yet, are you?
You will be. You will be.
The crawl that opens each Star Wars film has become synonymous with the franchise and was inspired by the Flash Gordon serial based on the comics, providing a synopsis of events that took place in prior or in between storylines. The crawls not only helped audiences remember what they may have forgotten, but opened the door for new fans to jump into the fold at any time. While these scrolls may not appear as necessary in today's world of Blu-ray players and YouTube, George Lucas's decision to adapt this technique was very important thanks to the wide gaps that separated the releases of his films. These recaps and the music that accompanies them have since become as much of a staple of Star Wars films as R2-D2 and really, really bad aim.
Your Majesty, Queen Freya, may I present the Earthman, Flash Gordon.
Your Majesty.
The hairstyle of Princess Leia is as recognizable as any in popular culture, and the Superhero Faces team always feels it's important to recognize our roots. And rather than patronize you with some witty pun about hair roots, we're just gonna cut to the chase and show you the hair of Phrygia's royal ruler, Queen Freya. Although Freya may not be remembered for being the badass that Leia is, she does get bonus points for having never shared any awkward kisses with her brother. We spoke about Flash Gordon's nemesis Ming earlier in the countdown, but he's not the only villain who appears to have influenced a major Star Wars baddie. While Jack Kirby has deservedly gained fame for the co-creation of the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and several other popular Marvel heroes, many forget that he is also responsible for the conception of several villains. Arguably the biggest baddie in DC Comics, Darkseid hails from Apocalypse, a gloomy world dependent on machinery and built on the backs of slaves. Sounds a lot like the Death Star inhabited by Darth Vader. You know, the same Darth Vader that turned to the dark side? No, not that Darkseid. This is gonna get confusing. To keep it simple, let's just say that Darkseid, this Darkseid, is always on the lookout for new recruits, but he's not the only one looking to bring people over to the dark side.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
This is starting to make my head hurt. In the early 70s, Jack Kirby made the transition from Marvel to DC Comics and introduced readers to Darkseid and others who occupied what is known as the Fourth World. In the Fourth World, we find many potential influences for the Star Wars universe, including mother boxes, which function as miniature computers that can help get their owners out of a jam or heal them if they'd been injured. A similar device can also be seen on the chests of some Jedis and Siths, and offers similar incentives to those who wear it. Some have believed that these mother boxes are powered by what is known as the Source, another concept introduced by Kirby back in 1971. Although the mystery and lack of a precise definition have been part of the Source's allure, what we do know is that it is a mystical and powerful entity that serves as a potential explanation as to why certain characters have been bestowed with special powers. Because the Source was explained in comic books over the course of several years, it is tough to say if any aspects of it may have influenced the Force and vice versa. It's also important to keep in mind that the idea of tapping into some unseen power to obtain strength has been around far longer than either Kirby or Lucas to begin with. However, the resemblance in name and the emphasis Kirby often placed on the word Force when acknowledging the Source was more than enough to earn this parallel a high spot.
You tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
Orion, I am your father. Yeah, that doesn't quite have the same ring to it, but if I could just put my nerd hat on for a minute, the Star Wars quote that we're alluding to is actually one of the most misquoted ones in cinematic history. Technically, Vader never actually says, "Luke, I am your father." But let's not split hairs. The point is that in 1980's The Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker was revealed to be the son of Darth Vader. Spoiler alert! Lots of mythological heroes had followed in their heroic father's footsteps, but the hero being the son of the villain?
That's impossible!
This was brand new territory, or was it? In another Jack Kirby classic, New Gods #7, Orion is revealed to be the son of his greatest enemy, Darkseid. Kirby has been hinting at this lineage since the very first issue of New Gods, but it wasn't until this 1972 issue that things became official. Like Luke Skywalker, Orion was also sent to a faraway world as an infant in hopes that the truth could be kept hidden from him. For both heroes, it is only a matter of time before they learn their true origins and face their past. When New Gods number 7 concludes, Orion declares that he will fulfill his destiny and meet Darkseid in the red light of the fire pits. A place that sounds pretty similar to where Luke's first physical encounter with Vader also took place.
Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker.
The Superhero Faces team understands that all great epics borrow the occasional archetype, themes, and elements from other great stories. Part of what helped make Star Wars so great was that it pulled inspiration from so many great legends and stories from all over the world. But what do you think about our list? Should The Long Tomorrow have made the cut? Who wore it better between Freya and Leia? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to tune in to superherofaces.com for more great content like this. And may the Force be with you.